What's driving GM's $4 billion plan to expand gas truck and SUV production? Isn't this the same company promising all electric by 2035? In 2025 alone, GM is investing $888 million into V8 engine plants while reconfiguring assembly lines for gas vehicles expected to run another 15 years. Meanwhile, policies have shifted. Congress recently eliminated EV tax credits and fuel economy fines. Does this mean GM is backing away from its EV vision? Or is this smart business adapting to real-world demand? What would you rather drive today? A powerful gas truck or a sleek EV? Before we dive deeper, hit subscribe for honest insights like this. Can GM balance both strategies, or will one side eventually dominate? Let's talk about General Motors' bold $4 billion plan to expand gas truck and SUV production. Did you hear GM announce this move on June 12, 2025? That's right. GM is investing across 3 U.S. facilities: Orion Assembly in Michigan, Fairfax Assembly in Kansas, and Spring Hill Manufacturing in Tennessee. What do you think about GM shifting its focus back to gasoline-powered vehicles? Or could this signal a real change in direction? Specifically, production of the Cadillac Escalade, Chevy Silverado, and GMC Sierra will move to Orion Township, Michigan, starting in early 2027. Why Michigan? Well, as GM CEO Mary Barra stated, "We're focused on giving customers choice." General Motors believes U.S. demand for these vehicles justifies reconfiguring facilities originally planned for electric trucks. Plus, this $4 billion doesn't just shuffle vehicles around. It ramps up capacity to over 2 million U.S.-made vehicles annually. Imagine that! And while GM keeps pushing EVs, this investment shows they're hedging bets. Do you think customers are losing interest in EVs, or is this just smart business considering today's economic and political climate? Let's dive deeper. Why is Orion Assembly in Michigan suddenly so important? General Motors confirmed on July 15, 2025, that it'll begin building the Escalade, Silverado, and Sierra there to meet continued strong customer demand. Isn't it surprising that GM is moving Escalade production from Arlington, Texas, while Arlington keeps running too? Double capacity. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer weighed in, saying these moves show long-term viability for Michigan jobs. What's your take? Should states like Michigan fight harder for these manufacturing opportunities? Another layer, Orion was originally set to produce electric trucks in 2026. Now, gas-powered vehicles will take precedence, showing how quickly plans can change. This shift also aligns with the Trump administration's 25% tariffs on Mexican imports. GM's moving gas SUV and truck production back home, avoiding those fees. Smart strategy or backtracking? So why Orion? Besides its location north of Detroit, Orion Assembly helps GM dodge tariffs, support American jobs, and meet customer preferences. How do you feel about all this reshuffling? Necessary or short-sighted? It's not just Michigan. Kansas and Tennessee are getting in on GM's $4 billion plan. GM announced that Fairfax Assembly in Kansas City, Kansas, will soon build the gas-powered Chevrolet Equinox alongside the all-electric Chevy Bolt. That starts in mid-2027. What's interesting is Equinox is currently made in Mexico, but bringing production stateside helps avoid tariffs and supports U.S. manufacturing. In Spring Hill, Tennessee, production of the gas-powered Chevy Blazer begins in 2027, alongside electric Cadillac models like the Lyriq. Isn't it fascinating how gas and electric production now coexist under the same roof? Do you think this blending of technologies at the same plant is the future of car manufacturing? Both states benefit from the shift. Kansas and Tennessee will help GM produce over 2 million vehicles annually in the U.S. That's not a small feat. Are these states ready for the increase in auto jobs and production demands? Now, let's talk about what's on everyone's mind: GM's all-EV by 2035 goal. Remember that announcement from 2021? It was seen as revolutionary. But now, after the June 2025 update, many analysts like Sam Abuelsamid from Telemetry say GM is quietly abandoning that timeline. Do you think GM ever believed they'd get there? Officially, GM still claims to believe in an all-EV future, but with billions going toward gas vehicles, actions speak louder than words. How do you feel about this shift? Is it just practical market adaptation, or a broken promise to clean energy? Mary Barra herself said, EVs are fundamentally better, but admits challenges like battery tech and charging infrastructure remain. And with Congress and the Trump administration cutting EV tax credits and rescinding California's 2035 zero-emission vehicle rules, the political winds have shifted. So, where does this leave GM? Continuing EV production in places like Factory Zero in Detroit while investing heavily in gas vehicles nationwide. Liking this so far? Subscribe now and keep the good stuff coming your way. Politics and market forces are shaping GM's latest moves. Did you know President Trump recently signed legislation eliminating fines for fuel economy violations and removing $7,500 EV tax credits? How do you think that impacts car buyers? Will it make gas vehicles even more appealing? These changes helped push GM toward investing $888 million at its Tonawanda, New York plant, not for EV motors, but V8 engines. Does that surprise you? Especially considering GM once pledged to stop producing gas engines altogether. Beyond that, analysts believe GM's 2035 EV goal was aspirational from the start, dependent on consumer demand and government support. With both fading, GM is hedging its bets. Do you think that's smart business or a step backward? And there's also the Alliance for Automotive Innovation. GM and others have been quietly opposing strict EV sales requirements. Now that the Republican-controlled Congress voted to kill California's all-EV rule, GM's pivot makes more sense. Are you in favor of relaxing those regulations, or should automakers push harder for clean energy solutions? Let's get into the nuts and bolts. What does reconfiguring plants mean for GM? Neil Ganguly from Alex Partners explains that engine factories operate for 15 years or more, while car assembly lines last 5 to 10 years. That means GM's current changes aren't just short-term, these are long-term bets. For example, GM's Orion assembly will focus on large gas SUVs and trucks for at least a decade. Simultaneously, GM will concentrate EV production at Factory Zero and spread it to other plants like Fairfax and Spring Hill for specific models like the Chevy Bolt and Cadillac Lyriq. Here's a thought. Can GM sustain both gas and electric production long-term, or will one side eventually dominate? Which type of vehicle would you rather buy today? A traditional gas truck or an EV? Also, moving 500,000 gas-powered vehicles from Mexico back to the US means significant logistical changes. It helps GM avoid those hefty 25% tariffs, but will it increase prices for consumers? Let's finish with what matters to many drivers: performance. How do GM's trucks and SUVs stack up against competitors like Ford and Ram? Did you know the Chevy Silverado 1500 offers up to 13,300 pounds of towing capacity and hits 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.8 seconds? Pretty solid, right? Ford's F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid leads slightly with 14,000 pounds towing and 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds. And then there's Ram's TRX, the beast, delivering 702 horsepower and hitting 0 to 60 in just 4.5 seconds. Which of these stats impresses you the most? On fuel economy, Chevy's 2.7-liter turbo achieves 24 miles per gallon combined, just like Ford's hybrid. Ram's diesel reaches 23 miles per gallon. When it comes to interior comfort and tech, Ram wins for luxury, Ford for space, and Chevy for balance. Have you driven any of these models? Which brand's interior feels best to you? Off-road fans, don't forget about the Silverado ZR2 competing against Ford's Raptor and Ram's TRX. Each has its strengths, but which would you take off the beaten path? Let us know your thoughts below. GM's $4 billion move blending gas and EV production shows it's not abandoning its electric vision, it's adapting to real-world shifts. By expanding U.S. jobs while hedging against political and market changes, GM is playing a smart, balanced game. Can both strategies truly coexist long-term, or will one dominate? Only time will tell. What's your take? Would you pick a gas powerhouse or sleek EV today? Comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for honest insights like this every week.